How's it going, my dudes? Welcome back to another video. So for today, we're going to take a look at one of Pikan's builds. I'll put it down in the descriptions below. You can refer to that. I actually did a spin, a personal spin on it, just to like change it up a little bit to a way that I find it more effective. I found the team to be really reliable, and it has been performing very well. So what you would quickly notice is that Suzu, right, the second unit, she will go first, followed by Sushi, and this happens all the time. Okay, we can ignore Phiria basically. She's just there for like a bit of heals and of course her passives and all that. But she's not so important to look at. You will need to focus more on Suzu and Sushi and how they actually combo all the time. And then I will of course discuss the strategy on how this works at the end of the video, so do stay on to watch that. Alright, so pay attention to their skill gauges, okay? So take a look. Unit number 2, Suzu, she will definitely go first, and she will boost my Sushi up to use his skill. And then, there you go, number 1, number 2, bam. Oh, that's a triple hit, nice. Okay, so you will see this very frequently, so I'll just move on to the next few attack scenes. Okay, getting quite close again. As you can see, we are still following this same trend. Right, Suzu goes, followed by a nice skill from Sushi. Fantastic. And as I said, we don't really need to worry about Phiria, who is a third unit, because she's just gonna do whatever she needs to do. Not very exciting, not very interesting, but she's just there. And I'll explain a little bit more why. Okay, quest clear. Let's see how well we fared for this round. Very, I would say that this team is very reliable. It does the same thing all the time. 12 point, okay, round it up to 12.8, okay? 12.8 million damage in under 2 minutes. So that's about 12.8, that's like 6.4 million damage per minute. In more than that, right? More than 6.4 million damage per minute. That's huge. That's really good. And do take note that my Sushi is also level 75. There is a lot more stats to be had. And he's also not fully upgraded on his mana board, because this is not my main team. My main is my light team. So let's take a look at the team itself. This is the team and the setup, and you can just copy this and paste it and end the video here, but I would highly recommend that you continue to see why I think that this lineup works really well. Okay, so we're going to start off with the third main over here, which is going to be Phiria. Very simple, she just does a bit of heal, grants levitate, a little bit of buffs here and there, some backup heal, but most importantly, whenever your team is levitated, right, whenever your win units are levitated, they actually get an extra 30% attack buff, which is going to be very effective for Sushi. It's going to up his damage a lot. And this is the weapon soul that I've attached to her, while levitating plus 30% attack buff to win units. So it's the same thing, right? So it's double, pretty big. Okay, really good over here. And moving on, we have Jake. He's easily replaceable. Okay, if you have Shrumbo or if you have Bianca, go ahead, you can use them. They pretty much do the same thing, but I like Jake for the mere fact that he just gives 40% attack buff to your leader straight away. There is really no strings attached. 40% attack buff, very nice. You're not going to use him as a main, of course. He's just going to be there for like some extra DPS, and that's about it. Moving on to Suzu. So she is obviously very key. Alright, a very key player in this team. When she uses her skill, she increases skill gauge by 30% and skill damage of the party leader by I think like 100. Wait, no, I think it's about 50%. I'm not exactly very sure. Okay, let's take a look at abilities, right? 20% attack buff to the leader, same as Jake. Self-active, whenever she activates a skill, you give a 10% additional attack buff to the leader. Okay, so that's very important. So if you watched the replay earlier, you notice that she has to go first. She'll drop the attack buff, which is of course permanent, and then magic happens after that. So as a main, when battle starts, she gets 80%. I think it goes up to 100%. Okay, so she's not maxed out, but this is good enough, by the way. This is very good already. When battle starts, 80% of skill gauge for herself and 8% attack buff to the leader, so more buffs to the leader. And of course, this is her weapon soul, plus 5% skill damage after she uses a skill, so that's even more skill damage onto Sushi himself. And then moving on to our bird over here, he's also really indispensable. His skill is very good. Okay, grants levitate to all allies, increases attack and skill damage of all parties. Self-explanatory. And his first ability, very much like Phiria, even though it's half the effect, while levitating, plus 15% attack buff to the entire party. So you're not actually limited to win units, you're buffing everyone. 20% levitate time is not very important to this build, okay, because what happens is Owlbird buffs levitate, right, and Sushi immediately attacks. And because this is a skill damage build, you are only going to be fully utilizing your buffs during skill nukes, right? So let's take a look at Sushi himself really quick. His attack is very simple, one single hit in a cross pattern, okay? And his leader skill, when battle starts, plus 30% to skill gauge for win units, and plus 80% skill damage to, I guess, win units as well. But take note that because this is only for win units, your Suzu doesn't actually get a buff, but that doesn't matter, and I'll explain why that doesn't matter later. When battle starts, plus for the first 60 seconds, 25% attack buff to yourself. It's good to have, but 25% is kind of like, it's forgettable lah. So after 60 seconds, it can fade away, whatever. Plus 20% damage for self against down foe or foe. So when you do like those combo skills, right? When you rack out a lot of skills with your co-op mates and you drop that combo skill, that's what happens. Okay, you down the foe, and then you just do 20% more damage during that period of time. When battle starts, plus 42%, this goes up I think to 60%, I think, to skill gauge for himself. And whenever you activate a skill, you ramp up more attack buff on yourself. So he's kind of like you need to cast skills more frequently, which kind of defeats the purpose of his first ability being like a one punch man, right? And of course the weapon soul they have given him, while levitating, plus 30% attack buff to win units. So even more buffs whenever you're levitating, right? So that's where Owlbird is very important. Okay, let's take a look at the armaments that I have equipped onto them. Starting with Sushi, he's using a Flux Spear, which is during a Pierce buff, plus 55% attack to himself. And I forgot to talk about his sub, which is Viron. This is where he comes in. So his skill grants Pierce to all allies and attack buff to himself. Okay? And by himself, I really mean Sushi, okay, because Sushi is the main here. So it grants Pierce to all allies, and the amazing thing about this is when you use Sushi's skill, you actually grant Sushi the Pierce buff. It doesn't show, okay, it doesn't show at the top, but you actually grant yourself the Pierce buff before you use the skill. And that's very important, right? So like, if I'm using the Flux Spear, for example, I get a 55% bonus attack before I use the skill. And of course, he comes with remarkable passives as well, 30% attack buff. And while Pierce buff is active, you add another 60% attack buff to yourself. So Sushi gets like a ton of damage from using Viron as a sub over here. Very nice, very good. Okay, moving on to Suzu's weapon. It's going to be the Regi X, right? I think this is a Regi X. Yeah, while levitating, plus 60% attack buff to all win units. Yeah, and this is the Orochi sword, which is while the Pierce buff is activated, you add 50% attack buff to the entire party. So a lot of buffs. Okay, so for example, just think about it, right? If Suzu goes first, she actually drops levitation, she drops skill damage, she drops attack buffs onto Sushi, who then activates Pierce buff, and then that triggers the whole line of like every single armament, every single whatever. It's like a major chain reaction, right? Like Phiria, she has like the extra damage bonus during levitation and all that. All those good stuff gets stacked. It gets stacked like crazy, right? And if you're wondering why Suzu is using an old staff core and not using one of these OP weapon souls, is because she's actually thunder type, right? So she's thunder type, she can't equip the Nether Kakara core, which requires you to be wind type unit. So there you go. This is the lineup explained. And as promised, I said why Suzu doesn't need the skill gauge bonus is because she gives herself 80%, that's good enough. She just needs to go first, and after she goes first, she will then push Sushi forward. So that's fine, that works fine. And another important thing is, because Suzu has an 80% skill gauge bonus as opposed to Phiria, who only has a 30% skill gauge bonus from the start, you're actually staggering Owlbird and Phiria's levitation. Yeah, take note of that, you're actually staggering these two buffs, so you never ever have two different levitation buffs at the same time because they don't stack in duration. Do take note of that. So that's very important. I feel like this whole lineup really synergizes very well. The only thing that can be changed in this lineup that I feel is probably going to be Jake. If like new units come in that grants a little bit more than just 40% attack buff to your leader, that's good enough. That's perfect fit, to be honest. That's perfect fit. So thank you so much for watching. I hope this video was informative. If it is, let me know down in the comments, or if I've missed out on something, do let me know below as well. And I'll put the link to Pekan's spreadsheet in the description down below. You can go and check it out. It's really helpful. There is all kinds of teams over there. So with that said, this has been Free to Play, by the way, and I'll see you as always in the next video.